Hi, thanks for clicking. You're listening to another edition of Stories in Songs on the Darren Dee Show. My guest this episode was in the entertainment industry for over 35 years. In that time, he's been an events manager, a DJ, a presenter, a musician and a magician. He's also gigged throughout Europe and internationally as a guest DJ for P&O Cruises. Back in 2006, he kind of took part in the Queen's 80th birthday celebrations at Buckingham Palace. I know this story to be true because I was with him. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Russ James. Russ, thank you so much for being on the show, mate.
That's okay. It was the money that tempted me.
So we first met back in 2005.
Yeah, you came back from the Canary Islands, wasn't it?
I was working the Canary Islands. I came back and started working for the same management company you were working for.
Yeah.
And then I think after a month, I got a chance to go on to a P&O cruise.
Yeah.
I got back from the cruise, and I think the very first night I got back, we had a party around our management company's house.
We did. Yeah, we did.
And that was the first time I met you then, and you were the guy that put me on the cruise.
Yeah.
So thanks very much for that.
That's all right, mate. You owe me nothing.
I do appreciate it. And since then, we've known each other. We'd kind of almost lived with each other for about 4 years.
We did. We had the best summers ever, I think. I definitely look back on it, which I have done, because the summers that we've had since, you compare it and I look back and think, if you like barbecues, if you like being outdoors, having a drink, good company, looking at the stars, burning other people's wood, and then waking up the next day and cleaning everything up, and then doing exactly the same thing again that night. It was just...
So to explain, we were living in a house in Weston-super-Mare. The landlord and landlady lived above us, and we lived in sort of the bottom flats.
The basement flats.
The basement flats in their house.
You had the garden flat, I had the basement flat, because the garden flat was an extension of the house, wasn't it?
Carefree-est year of my life.
Well, the money was coming in. That's what helped.
It's ridiculous, the money.
You and I went down and met with the top people at P&O in Southampton, because I was originally employed by them. And then after a month I said, no, I'm not doing this anymore. I can see now why you've got a problem, because you're just burning the guys out 24/7, no let up, and expecting them to be all singing or dancing. But I didn't cut my ties with them. I said, if you ever get stuck, give me a call, and perhaps I can fill in if a guy's on leave when the ship comes in. That's exactly what happened. I had a phone call and they said, can you do this cruise? And I did it, and they were really happy. Then I did a second one, and that was when you came along, and then they offered me 2 cruises, and I said, well, I can't do both, but I know somebody that will do that. This guy I know will cut the mustard, and that was you. And then you went off and did the cruise. They loved it. Then we met with them, and then they gave us like 20 odd cruises to cover. So we were picking what we wanted to do, and then obviously bouncing the rest down to the stable of other guys that we had. And we took a small fee, really, for that. So we had money coming in even though we weren't working.
Yeah. From so many DJs, because we were the guys that could get them working in the Caribbean. Or
Yeah, exactly.
I remember doing the New York cruises as well, and thinking, this is crazy,
Yeah, well...
I'm getting paid for this.
I say some of my music that I've picked will relate to that as we go through it. You'll understand then why I've put the tracks down that I have. Okay,
well, in that case, then that leads us sweetly into our first song. What we got?
Led Zeppelin, Whole Lot of Love. I've 2 older brothers. There's my next brother up is 7 years between us. My next brother is 10 years between us. So, my eldest brother was full. He had a harmonica and was playing Bob Dylan. And I could never understand it then, and I still can't understand it now. And my next brother Dan was into different music, but it was almost they were the ones buying their reel-to-reel sound systems, as it were, and the record decks and things like that. And I don't know whether it was a cruel twist, but headphones were always put on me and listen to this volume 11 because it was hilarious. They're 17, 18, just come back from the pub trying to burst my eardrums at the age of 10. It didn't work, obviously, but in all fairness, at that time I hadn't really found music at that time. 1979, when I was 16, that was when I went out into the big working world. I remember the Whole Lot of Love Led Zeppelin was when I then started taking notice that I want the music. People like music. it creates a nice atmosphere. People, there was almost have you got that new song by, have you heard this, have you heard that? So I inadvertently went about, like most DJs of my age, tuning in to the top 20 on a Sunday, or the top 40 as it was, and then also Top of the Pops on a Thursday night. Not that I could do anything with that, because VHS recorders weren't around then. That's how old I am. But it was the intro music to Top of the Pops. And of course, a lot of people don't realise that. Most will, of a certain age generation. But the reason it was put on me by my brothers, because it was one of those true stereo effects with the sliding guitar going from left to right, which was amazing. And that hooked me. The most simplest of things, thinking, wow, it's like it's going through my head.
Yeah.
Left,
Yeah.
hold on, left. And it would keep with that. So for me, it's a timeless track. If I listen to it now, and we'll listen to it in a minute, it's one of those that I still enjoy, because it reminds me, A, of my two brothers, but also where my interest of having to be ready on a Sunday. Because when I heard that opening riff, I had to be ready with my cassette recorder.
Hi, you're watching the YouTube highlights of Stories in Songs from myself, Darren Dee. The full podcast version is available on iTunes, Google and Spotify. Just Google the Darren Dee Podcast. To listen to the original radio edition, head on over to appleradio.co.uk. Thanks for watching.